All right. Welcome back to the channel. I am Kim with Abundant Life Tarot. I'm super happy you are here. This is the last video in the Court Cards series that we are doing. My tarot study group had asked for some content specifically geared towards learning more about how to work with the court cards in the tarot. And I was like, oh, I can do that. I'll do that. And so here we are. This was birthed by a call out, me asking, like, is there something you'd like me to cover to help us deepen our understanding of the cards as we do this Light Seers Tarot study? And they answered the call, and now I'm responding with a video series. And I'm excited about this video series because I have a fun way to help you learn the courts. So I hope that you stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss this easy and fun way to really ground your understanding of how to work with them. And I think you're going to enjoy this, so stay tuned. Welcome back. So I wanted to give a fun way of really exploring the court cards. And one way to do that is to work with a deck like the archetype cards that are by Carolyn Miss. This is a Hay House Oracle deck. Usually you can catch it on sale for very, very cheap. And it has tons of cards here that are representing archetypal influences, energies, personality types, etc. So you can work with a deck like this, right? If you don't have this deck or money is of concern, although I'm pretty sure if you wait for a good Hay House sale and they're like maybe 15 bucks on Amazon, but you can get them cheaper when there's a sale on Hay House. This is a great deck to do the exercise that we're about to do. And I'll show you in a moment. We're going to switch camera angles. But I also, let me pull them out over here. They're just over here. I have other decks. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So if you don't have decks that have like archetypal energies, what you could do instead is get you some index cards and write out some different archetypal energies. And as I go through some of these cards, the Carolyn Miss deck, you can get ideas about different archetype energies. You know, their light attributes, you know, what we really love about that archetype, and the shadow attributes. And you can put it on your little index cards. Now, it's important to not, you can do this. You could say, okay, the knights are this and put them on index cards and work with it that way. But I suggest just putting the archetypal energy instead, the archetypal name here. So for example, we have the Lover, right? This could probably be something related to the Cups, right? One of the court cards in the suit of Cups. And I like the idea of using an index card and just putting Lover and then having the light attributes and shadow attributes. You'll see why in a moment. So I have this deck, and then I have created my own decks that I work with for client readings. So I have the Defining Characteristics Oracle, and I'm literally going to personify these court cards. I'm going to personify them. I'm going to assign different, oh, he's redheaded. I will decide, you know, who this person is. Like the other night I was preparing for this particular video, this one, and I was writing it down, different ideas, and I pulled this deck out and I shuffled and I said, Spirit, give me a card that represents the pages in this Defining Characteristics Oracle. And the card that jumped was this one, Colorful Hair. And I was like, this feels very Page of Swords to me. Or it could be even the Page of Wands, you know, got a a certain kind of artistic, colorful flair to them. But I loved that Spirit divinely plucked this card. And so I'm going to be using this deck, perhaps. Maybe I might just, for time's sake, just work with this deck. But I have this deck. I have my Symbols of Attraction Oracle. We've got Passionate. So I can embody or have my court card be embodied and like actually realized with these card descriptions, and start to associate in my mind the pictures and the words that describe them. Maternal. Now this could be any of the queens, but maybe with this greenery, it could be, in the background, it could be the Queen of Pentacles, right? I'm getting very air energy with her. Depth and intensity. So this card is not available for sale yet on my Make Plain Cards little shop, but the defining characteristics deck is. I'm trying to see. Oh, she's a hot tamale. I would say I'm getting very Queen of Wands there. So there's that deck, and then there's the shadow attributes, right? This is lovely, but there's some personality traits of some of these archetypes or these court cards that are like, oh, these are a little hard to manage. So we have secretive. So when I see this, and this is from my Love Repellent Oracle. This is also not available for sale yet. I'm going to be adding more decks to the shop at some point in the next couple of months or so. But secretive, I'm feeling very, this is a shadow attribute to the Queen of Swords, okay? Feeling very air with that one. Who else? Also the Ice Cold. This could be Queen of Swords. Arrogant. Who is arrogant? And it could be a male or a female, okay? It doesn't have to be just like the female cards here depicted here. Doesn't have to mean that that's what how you're using it for, say, any of the courts. Pages, Queen of Swords, King of Swords, doesn't matter. However you want to apply it. Arrogant. Arrogant could be a swords type of energy. When you watch the other videos that I've done for this series, you can see what words I use to describe each of the court cards. So arrogance comes up. I'm pretty sure it comes up for the swords, but it could come up for the wands. So you may be, when you are doing this exercise, when you're done with one court card, you're going to reshuffle and you're going to do this exercise again. You don't have to do this all in one sitting. You can break it up. You're going to be like, today I'm going to work on the suit of cups and I'm just going to work on that suit. Or you could even say, today I'm going to just work on the Knight of Swords today and just get some archetypal cards through that. So I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a moment. Who might be hypocritical? Who could be, whose shadow attribute could be overly dependent? Who might be weaponizing sex? Which suit might do that? And some of them would be, some of the cards could represent all of them. But it's important to sit with these court cards and play this little exercise so you start to get comfortable and realize, yeah, sometimes there might be a little bit of overlap. Not too much, but there could be some overlapping personality traits that show up in each of the cards. Who's irresponsible? Okay. Who's a know-it-all? Which suit is the know-it-all? So we're going to now switch camera angles. I'm so excited. And we're going to play this little game called Getting to Know the Cards with Archetypes. All right. Let me switch camera angles. Okay, we have switched camera angles. So now we've got the suit of wands. Don't forget to be sure to check out the entire series and take a look at the intro, especially because we go over what the suits are all about. But as a quick reminder, let me refresh. So the wands are about creative and spiritual matters, right? That's dealing with passion and drive and ambition and lust, desire, productivity, imagination. This suit can be very much inventive or destructive. All right, so just keep that in mind. And first up is the Page. We've got the Page of Wands. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore this one first. So the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands, and let me zoom in. Allow me to zoom in. Page of Wands is optimistic. This little page here is optimistic, curious, a free thinker. This page is creative and action-oriented. However, this page may not understand the consequences of their actions, okay? This page is enthusiastic and inspirational. They are easily inspired, and they also inspire others. And the pages, just so you know, typically can be associated with messengers or messages. So that's another type of event that the Page of Wands indicates when you see it in a reading, as well as the pages being new. They're students, and they are typically associated with children, or anyone who is not a young adult. So young people, and anyone who's not elderly, right, or in their middle age. Page of Wands. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to go through this deck here, and I'm going to zoom out now so we can see this a bit better. And I'm going to take this deck, right? And I could just randomly shuffle, but we're not going to do that. We're going to look at different aspects of the Page of Wands. We've got child magical. I like that. We'll look at the different light and shadow attributes. We got vampire, but maybe networker, visionary, maybe dilettante, not father, scribe, maybe not. Oh, look, they even have a knight card here. Hero or heroine, perhaps. We've got detective, student for sure, prince, nah. Alchemist, we'll say alchemist. Artist, yes, because we're dealing with inspiration. Not child, orphan, I don't know. I'll put that to the side. Rescuer, destroyer, yes. Don Juan, no. Pioneer, yes. Yeah. So as you see, I'm just kind of going through the different cards that could be representing this lovely Page of Wands. Healer. The healer was probably going to be in a few different court card examinations. Child eternal. Hedonist. We'll put that. Shapeshifter. No. Maybe, but maybe not. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of going through ones that I think would be applicable. And so you see what I'm doing here? We even got a king here, but that's not applicable to me. Companion. Okay, so I have my Page of Wands here. And, oh, I noticed there's an ugly glare. Let me move these. There's a glare. So now what I'm going to do I'm going to turn my light around a little bit further so it's not so much of a terrible glare. And we got the Page of Wands that's up. So, let's see. I'm not feeling this child one. It's child of nature. I feel like that's more of a Page of Pentacles. So I'll set that one off to the side here. We've got child divine. Light attributes is innocence, purity, and redemption, suggests a special connection with the divine. The shadow attributes is an inability to defend oneself against negative forces. So that could kind of apply, but I suspect that could apply to all the pages. We've got child eternal, determination to remain young in body, mind, and spirit, ability to see things with fresh eyes. Shadow attribute is inability to grow up and be responsible. Extreme dependency on others for physical security. That feels right to me. Okay, I'll zoom in just a moment. We've got child wounded. Light attributes. Awakens compassion and desire to serve others. Wounded children, to serve other wounded children, opens the learning path of forgiveness. This is feeling almost cup to me. Child orphan. I suppose this could apply to all of the pages. Light attributes, independence based on learning to go it alone, conquering fear of surviving, or maybe that's more swords energy. Shadow attributes, feelings of abandonment that stifle maturation, seeking inappropriate surrogate families. So we'll set that to the side. But here's the cards that I thought very much embodies the Page of Wands. So we've got child magical, light attributes, seeing the potential for sacred beauty in all things, the belief that everything is possible. The shadow, like if this card were in reverse, shadow attributes would be pessimism, depression, and disbelief in miracles, believing that energy and action are not required for growth. Okay, that feels right to me. The mystic revels in intimate union with the divine. Shadow attribute, delusional rapport with the divine. Okay, and I suppose that could be another one that could go for a couple of different suits. Seeker, thirst for wisdom and truth wherever they are, and that could also certainly be for the Page of Swords, right? Shadow attribute, though, I think really applies to this page, and also the Knight of Wands too. Shadow attribute is inability to commit to a path once found. Okay. And we could even keep some of these on the table for the Knights. We've got rebel, which also feels very swords to me. Light attributes is challenges authority to effect social change, rejects spiritual systems that do not serve inner needs. But the shadow attributes to the rebel is rejects legitimate authority out of anger, rebels out of peer pressure or fashion. You see, are you getting the hang of what I'm doing here? So we've got athlete. I definitely associate the wands with athletes. Okay. I'm not going to go through all of them unless something calls out to me. Well, this does call out to me. Dedication to transcending physical limits, including handicaps. Develop of personal willpower and strength of spirit. Okay, and this is a shadow attribute to the pages or to the knights, or really to any of the suit of wands. Shadow attributes is misuse of athletic ability for selfish ends, false sense of invulnerability and entitlement. We've got poet, so they are inspired, and also this could apply towards the Page of Swords. Hedonist. Light attributes inspires creative energy to embrace the good things in life, celebrates the beauty in yourself. This also could probably be a Cups card. Shadow attributes pursues pleasure to the detriment of health, indulge at the expense of others. We've got healer. Are you catching my drift? We've got fool. Definitely feels very page-like to me. Saboteur. highlights your fear of self-empowerment and the changes it would bring to your life. Shadow attribute induces self-destructive behavior or the desire to undermine others. Got pioneer, destroyer. Light attributes, releasing what is potentially destructive, preparing for new life. Shadow attributes, intoxication with destructive power, destroying others' dreams or potential. Artist, where is it with the poet? Alchemist. Student, which is applicable to all the pages, so I'll keep that also to the side. Light attributes is humility and devotion to knowledge, openness to lifelong learning. That's what really you could associate, especially with the Page of Swords, but also with the Page of Wands. And really all the pages, honestly. And that's what I mean by when I said in one of the Court Card series videos is that sometimes it's going to be overlapping types of personality traits, right? That's who we are as people. We're layered. And that's what's beautiful about the courts, is that you or the reader are going to look at all the accompanying cards. You're going to look at who's asking the question, like your seeker or querent, all of that. And then that's going to direct you on what direction to go. Visionary, networker, dilettante, delights in the arts without having to be a professional, alerts you to the danger of becoming superficial in your pursuits. Shadow attribute, pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess. So, I'm not going to do this with all of the cards, but the pages are probably some of the challenging ones. I assume that the Queen of Wands or any of the courts could be challenging depending on how you read, how you choose to read the cards. But I had a struggle between the pages and the knights particularly. The queens and kings were a bit easier for me to navigate and understand, but I did have a challenge between the pages and wands when I was first learning the cards. So now what I would do is, if I'm just working with this particular card today, I would say, okay, what kind of places would this person be? So I would pull from my Sacred Spaces Oracle. This is just one I made for myself. Oh, there was an art studio card, so I might put that there. This page might be if there was a school or something like that, I would pull that out. Some sort of adventure. Maybe they might be exploring getting a tattoo. So I am really tapping into where this person likes to hang out, what they like to do. Maybe, go through this deck, pull out cards from here. This is my symbols of attraction. So I would go through and pick out cards that were applicable. But for time's sake, we're not going to do that. I do have my defining characteristics. I might even find that typical hair colors I associate with the pages, which for me, either that would be, not the pages, but the suit of wands. So the suit of wands could be red or medium to light brown or darkish brown hair, or bald or shaved, etc. So I might pull out cards that represent those suit cards for me. Okay, so I'm gonna pause here, clean this up a bit, and we're gonna move on to the Knight of Wands. So now we're at the Knight of Wands. So I won't show you how I go through all of these decks that I have, but you could certainly use like maybe a love oracle and say what kind of lover this person would be. If you have a money oracle, or money or career oracle, you could even pick through what types of careers you think would be most applicable to your particular court card. But for time's sake and for the purpose of this video, we're going to get back to our archetypes. And so we had some that could definitely go with the Knight of Wands. We have the Fool. We have, I'm trying to see what could be applicable here. Let me move these over here. Seeker, magical, so many of them, but there might be some specific cards that belong to just the Knight of Wands. We'll go through and find them. Student, we'll stick that to the side. Networker for sure. Pioneer, yes. Visionary, why not? Dilettante, hedonist. And then I'm going to look through this deck and see if there's any other cards that might be applicable. Let me see. Don't mind me. Addict, that's an interesting one. Companion. Maybe guide. Gossip, that's probably going to be from my swords. Let's see if there's any other applicable ones. Got beggar. I've got a mess of cards over here. Gambler, advocate, trickster, avenger. Might be a good one. Warrior as well. I'm just going through, guys, until I find some that I think would be most applicable. And I'll show you the ones I found. Okay. Bully also could be for the sword suit. Okay. So let me move these off to the side. So let me show you. So we've got a few cards. We've got Bully, which I also associate with the swords. Light attributes is highlights your tendency to intimidate others, helps you confront the inner fears that bully you. Shadow attribute conceals deep fears behind verbal or physical abuse. Knight, the actual knight here. Light attributes, loyalty, romance, and chivalry, a love of honor. Shadow attributes, allegiance to a destructive ruler or principle, romantic delusion. So that I could see this being the Knight of Cups. So Knight of Wands. What else? What else I want to share you? Prince. This also felt very cups to me, even the color here. Prince, romantic charm and potential for power. I guess it could be the Knight of Wands. Shadow attribute, and this is why I likely picked it, using power for self-aggrandizement. That's an interesting word. Rescuer, provides strength and support to others in crisis, acts out of love with no expectation for a reward. Okay. Warrior, I definitely associate the Knight of Wands is someone who is a warrior, someone who goes out and explore, right? So when I go back to my notes on the Knight of Wands, they're spontaneous, they're popular, they're enthusiastic, at times unfocused. They can be quite sexual. Did I have a sexual card in there? I don't know, but I do in my other decks. They're goal-oriented, they're a go-getter, they can't abandon tasks too easily and leave lots of unfinished projects or unfinished business. And they start things and then have trouble finishing. And yeah, so yeah, we got that. So are you catching the drift of what I'm doing here? And then we've got Avenger, and Athlete certainly applies. Guide represents this is a different card. I think this might feel swords-like. But Warrior, light attributes, strength, skill, discipline, and toughness of will, heroism, stoicism, and self-sacrifice and conquering the ego. Shadow attributes of the warrior is trading ethical principles for victory at any cost, indifference to the suffering inflicted on others. And so when you're doing this exercise, I would suggest sitting with them. You don't have to do this all for all the cards at once. I would do it like a card a day, or a card whenever you decide to work on this project, and just sit with the different archetypes and study them. Over time, you are going to start to pick up on these key archetypes that you have assigned to them. Because yes, there's some general associations that we assign to each of the suits, each of the court cards, but then there's the way you interpret them. And this is why this exercise is great, because you're going to go through your deck and pick out the ones that apply best. Okay. So we're going to do one more. And I was going to do all of the suits for this exercise, but I think we don't need to do that. I think you guys are going to catch the drift of how I do this. And I want to hear from you in the comment section. Did you do this with maybe the quartz and the cups? What came up for you? Do you have this deck? Many folks I know have this deck and they just aren't really using it. This is a way to start to use the archetype cards if you're not using them. This is a fun way to bring them into practice, to start using that deck. And like I said before, if you don't have this deck, you don't have to rush out and buy it. You can go ahead and use index cards and write down the archetypal energies, Avenger, and what keywords mean to you from the light and shadow attributes, and put it all around. So now we are moving on to the Queen of Wands for this exercise. I would encourage you to watch the other videos in the series where I deep dive into each of the suits court cards, okay? So that way you have an understanding of what each of them kind of embody in terms of archetypes. That would help you. You know, if you're just coming to this video, I would encourage you to check out the other suits. Just for this exercise, we're just looking at the wands, and I may even stop at the Queen of Wands if I see that the video's running too long. But this is a fun exercise that we're doing, right? So we're now going to look at these. We've got Damsel, which I don't necessarily associate with the Queen of Wands. She doesn't feel very damsel-like to me. Let's see. Let me see what we have here that might apply to her. Hero or heroine. Mother, perhaps. What else would she be? Liberator, perhaps, maybe. She might be a mentor. Goddess, and maybe a teacher. Maybe an advocate. Femme fatale for sure. Prostitute, maybe. I don't know. Let's see what else. Queen, absolutely. So, and then I also have the other cards that I set aside that apply to like the Page of Wands and the Knight of Wands. I would encourage you to, as you go through these cards, if you see cards that could be universally used across the suit, then set those aside and then pull those out for this pull them out for the card that you're working for in this exercise. So none of the child cards I'm going to use, but I'm going to look over here and see if there's any. I'll put them to the side so I save them for the king. Many of these could go even athlete, right? Many of them could definitely apply. Networker, she is a networker, and I will talk about her attributes in a moment. But okay. Didn't I go through these? Oh, I did. Okay. So, Queen of Wands. What we know about the Queen of Wands is that she's energetic, she's confident, she is beautiful, bold, a leader, charming, flirtatious, loads of charisma. She has an infectious energy. She's the cultivator of inspiration and imagination. She nurtures goals and ambitions and has a fiery temper, but she's friendly and she's artistic, and she certainly has a flair and a style about her. On the flip hand side, she can have a bit of a diva kind of attitude. She kind of loves the spotlight, this one. But she also could be quite a influential entrepreneur, all right? We've got the hero and heroine cards, a light attribute, sorry for the glare, is passion for a journey of personal empowerment. I would say that's definitely her. Shadow attribute is escapism and a false sense of heroism, all right? Mother, nurturance, patience, unconditional love, joy in giving birth to life. Shadow attributes, smothering or abandoning children, instilling guilt in children for becoming independent. That could be for all the queens, I suppose. We have Queen. Light attributes, radiates the regal feminine, uses her benevolent authority to protect others. Shadow attributes is become arrogant when authority is challenged, controlling and demanding. This certainly feels very much like the Queen of Wands here. Femme fatale, remember I said, she's flirtatious. The light attributes for the femme fatale is highlights the erotic energy of the feminine, opens your heart when your dependency is rejected. Shadow attributes, inappropriate use of sensuality, attachment to money, and power. Wow. We've got other cards like Goddess. Light attribute, the feminine expressed through wisdom, nature, life force, and sensuality. Shadow attribute, exploitation of the female nature and form. Okay. Prostitute could be definitely associated, depending on the reading. Light attribute accentuates the challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of your spirit. Shadow attribute places material considerations and security above self-empowerment. I suppose this also could go for the Queen of Pentacles. We've got teacher here, mentor, and liberator. I love this. Light attributes, freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs, releasing negative thought patterns. And shadow attributes, imposing your own tyranny over those you claim to liberate, ignoring legitimate constraints. And what I would do with her is I certainly would go through my, my symbols of attraction and pull out cards like confidence, to embody her, dominant. Like I would find different cards that sensual, that really help me to feel her out, kinky. So I have that to work with. I would think about the places that she would go and be and shop, a modern day Queen of Wands. I would also explore where she might want to work, this deck has jobs in it as well, but for the time's sake, I'm not going to go through it. And maybe what type of lover she is. So, and I would also, the cards that I had set aside from working with the Page of Wands and the Knight of Wands, I would pull out and explore with her as well. So let's see if we got enough time to squeeze in the King. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. I'm going to have to probably wrap this video up soon because there's a lot of background noises that I'm not going to be able to escape from. But what I did instead was went through the deck and pulled out some additional cards for the King of Wands to save time, because I did want to squeeze in the King of Wands. We have him here. And let me show you some of the cards that I pulled out that could be associated with this king. Father, light attributes, talent for creating and supporting life, positive guiding light within a tribal unit. Shadow attributes to this king could be dictatorial, so a dictator, control, right? Abuse of authority, for sure. I also included a prostitute because the king can be like a prostitute too now. I'm going to take out the femme fatale because we have a Don Juan here, which what I know about the king, let me pull him up for a moment and talk about him. So the King of Wands is passionate, strong, driven, seductive, flirtatious. It has a magnetic energy, sexually charming, and uses all of these traits to get what he wants. He is an influencer, this one, and he can be a heartbreaker. He also can be kind of cunning. So keep that in mind as we go through it. So we got Don Juan. Spotlights your positive, seductive qualities. Shadow attribute to the Don Juan is using the power of romance attraction for private agendas. I'd say, yeah, that's hitting the nail on the head. King, light attributes, enlightened, benevolent leadership, benefiting those in your charge. Shadow attributes, excessive feelings of entitlement, rulership without restraint. Okay. He also can be a liberator. We talked about the liberator with the queen, that overlapping kind of archetypal energy. We've got God, benevolence, and compassion, recognizes the eternal force within yourself and others. So that's that spiritual component that I mentioned earlier in the earlier videos about the wands, okay? We've got Messiah, light attribute, serving humanity with humility. Shadow attribute is exaggerated belief that you are the only means through which a cause can succeed. Yeek. And then again, another overlapping card here for the King of Wands that came from the Queen of Wands, or really any of these suits with this wands, okay? Light attribute, passion for a journey of personal empowerment. Shadow attribute, escapism and a false sense of heroism. And he can be an advocate. What else can he be? He also can be a networker. He could be an athlete if you were doing a reading and that card came up, or, like you're trying to do a description about a potential love interest that might be coming in someone's life. These are the type of archetypal energies you could pick up on. Now, of course, maybe it's not necessarily a professional athlete, but somebody who's quite athletic, right? And what does that mean to be quite athletic? What does that mean? He can be a healer, but of inspiration. He can be an alchemist. So there you have it, folks. And again, I would explore all these different decks that I have. You might have different oracle decks or other tarot decks even that you could use for this exercise. And I'm definitely curious to hear from you in the comments section or in the Facebook group of different decks you used, or maybe you tried the index card suggestion. I want to hear from you. I also want to hear from those who have tried this with the other suits, the cups, the King of Cups or the Queen of Swords. What came up for you? And practice, practice, practice. Have fun with this. I'm always trying to find fun ways to get to know my cards. And I think I even have a video. I hope to remember to link it in the description of where I find fun ways to use my deck. It was actually part of the Antique Anatomy Tarot study, I think. Anyways, all that to say, it's important to find ways that works best for you in learning the cards. This helped me immensely getting to know my court cards and understanding what they represent. And they may not always represent a person, but they could represent a situation for me, or an event like the Page of Wands saying, you're going to soon get messages in the next few weeks. Maybe through social media, DMs, or a text message, or an email. That's an example, right? And the nature of what those messages might be would be embodied in the archetypal energies. So that's what we're talking about here. So let me know if you also have any questions. This is actually concluding the Court Cards series, and I want to thank you all for hanging out with me, getting to know the courts a bit better through these videos. And thank you all for joining the tarot study if you're a part of it. And thank you all so much, so much for watching these videos that I create, for subscribing. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And then also liking the video. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right, guys. Bye for now. Take care. Take care of your loved ones. And I'll see you all in the next video.